Dave, when you look back on this series, and you're eventually going to look back on it for probably quite a while, what do you think the biggest difference maker was in how it turned out?
Well, I don't know if there's one difference maker. I don't know. You look through the series; it was a really even series. Probably look at the first 6 games. The better team that played a little bit better that night probably won each game, right? Tonight was one where, both teams played really hard. Our goaltender was the best player on the ice. We had a couple guys that stepped up and made game-changing type plays, and we had much like the entire season, we just had everybody doing their part. The battle level and the how hard our group worked tonight was really indicative of the kind of season that we've had. So, there's not really one difference maker in this series. It's a collective group effort by our guys, and on a night where the series is decided, we had a couple guys that stood out, and the rest of the group did their job.
Dave, so many people had written this team off before the series had even started. How satisfying is this series win for you, and to also make franchise history in the process, winning your first ever playoff series?
I'm just really happy for the guys. I'm proud of their effort, and they deserve this. And in terms of the other stuff, we've heard it all year. I haven't talked much about it, but who cares, right? We've heard it since September. We've heard it, everybody waited throughout the regular season as we went to different points in the regular season for our group to go away, to fall off. And I just said, a couple of times at key junctures in the season, I just said, we may or may not, make it in terms of being a playoff team, but we're not going to go away. We have substance. Our team has played very similarly throughout the year in terms of how cohesive they are, how hard they work. So when we became a playoff team, we earned it. And the same thing coming into this series. If we would have talked honestly, behind the scenes, we may or may not win this series, but we're going to play the way we play. And tonight it was good enough. So that's all the players. That's that's those guys getting the job done and doing it together.
Dave, you said you don't believe in momentum carrying from game to game necessarily, but what does a win like this in this series against the defending Stanley Cup champions do for your squad moving into the second round?
Well, it took a lot of energy out of us, that's for sure. You know what? It gives them their just reward, right? So guys can feel good about that. It continues to bolster the confidence of our group, even though I don't know that ever has really wavered over the last few months. And like I said, it gives them that check mark of success in the first playoff series that our franchise has played in. And I know that, I don't know if the guys will speak to it or not, but I know the guys, especially the guys that were here last year, will take great pride in that. They take pride in the building blocks that they're putting in place in terms of the franchise and in terms of hockey in Seattle. But more importantly, it just comes down to winning a series, right? At the end of the day, today was about winning a playoff series. And like I said, I thought Colorado was great tonight. Like they pushed us in every way you can imagine. And like I said, our goaltender was the best player on the ice, and the rest of the guys in front battled as hard as they could.
Dave, the Yanni Gord line had a very tough task this whole series. They were especially relentless on the forecheck, I thought, tonight.
Yeah.
What did you see from those three, and especially, Bjorkstrand coming through, obviously?
In my opinion, the biggest thing is they never went away, right? If you look at the last 4 games and the matchups that they had success early on. A couple games where things, didn't, probably at the end of the game you added up and didn't go their way. But confidence never wavered, compete level never wavered, their willingness to go back and play in that role never changed. And, tonight they did a hell of a job. Ollie, all he could, I don't know, he could have had 5 tonight, right? But that group collectively, like you said, drew a lot of real tough minutes against great players. And best thing I can say is they did the job. That's the best compliment I can pay them in a tough matchup.
Tim and Brady in the video room for series MVPs.
Yeah, they had that. I don't know. You don't know the inner workings, I guess, but they had it immediately as it came in the zone. So that's obviously a key point. That like it or not like the rule is there. And in that case, those guys, they did it a couple of times this series, right? So that was obviously that's a huge point momentum-wise in the game. With that goal being disallowed early in the third period.
Sorry, can I ask one more? Yeah. How certain were you? I mean, in that moment, like, if it goes the other way, obviously it's a penalty against. So, like, how certain are you that call is going to go your way?
No, they had no doubt on it. And as you look, I mean, there's always a little bit of doubt, but in this case, I mean, it was. I looked at it after the game. I got to see it a little bit on the bench, but it's hard to see on the monitors, to be honest with you. But they nailed it. That is not an easy task, and they had it immediately. Like I said, before the puck went in the net, they already had it and had communicated down to the bench.
Okay. We touched on this morning, but this is your first NHL playoff series win in 5 attempts. What did it feel like being on the other side of the handshake line for the first time?
Yeah, it's winning's more fun than losing, right? Let's just be honest. We get a chance to move on and go to Dallas, right? And that's the biggest thing. You come into the series with a single goal in mind, and you know what? I'm happy for our players. That's really what, at the end of the day, I'm thrilled for the organization and for our players. And I said it, I can't remember which game it was after. I was asked, can you enjoy it a little bit? Absolutely. I want our guys to enjoy this, and they should. We know it's going to be a quick turnaround, but we'll get to that tomorrow. So, enjoy the work that they put in, enjoy the success. We'll regroup and we'll get our foot back on the gas tomorrow, and that's just the way our group operates. So it's that's where my thinking is at. That's my emotions. I mean, it's awesome.
Hey, Dave, Jared Bednar credited you guys with being consistent all 7 games. You made a decision when Jared went out to put Ty on the line and leave the other 3 lines basically intact. Yeah. Was that a conscious thing to keep that consistency?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that to allow that to happen is we have to feel that Ty can do the job, right? So that's a real credit to Ty and what he has done over the year, and the confidence that he instilled in the entire organization to step into that spot. We thought you never know how it's going to go. I mean, it's the first game of of his NHL career, jumping into the middle of the series, but we felt like he had a really good opportunity to succeed. And if you talk to his 2 line mates, I bet you they'd give you great feedback. Like they have confidence in him, and it's not, he scored, kind of storybook, right? He scored his first NHL goal, night number 1, but it's the other things that at this time of year become so valuable. And, in those little areas, he's got a great mindset, really good hockey sense, and he's good in those little areas, the hard areas of the game. So that really, that allowed us, like you say, to keep everything else fairly stable. And that's a huge credit to him as a young guy coming in the league.
Dave, speaking of that, what's your understanding of where Jared's status is right now and his outlook for moving forward for you at this point?
Yeah, no change in his status. Obviously, he's not on the trip with us, so I don't really have a further update other than that.
And for you guys, depth scoring's been such a key thing for you all
Yeah.
season long. Oliver is the 15th different guy to score for you in the series tonight. To have it come through like that throughout this series to get you guys across the finish line and moving on, what does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, you got to stay true to who you are, right? If you start trying to make it up or change, the blueprint, you're probably not going to find success, especially as you go under the type of stress that our players, were under tonight in Game 7, right? So that's been our formula, throughout the year. That's been the expectation of the players within the room, is that somebody different each night is going to have to chip in and going to have to step up, and it probably will be a different guy. You know, and to their credit, they stayed true to it through, you know, the ups and downs of this series. They stayed true to it tonight, even through the ups and downs, obviously, of this hockey game.
All right, thanks, Dave. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.